Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about shadow work, Samhain and Beltane, those two Sabbats, which at the time of making this video are pretty close to happening. But before we do, I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com, author of Crafting a Wiccan Path, Tapping into Abundance. And if you want to know more about Wicca, witchcraft and shadow work, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. If you want to know how to heal your shadow through balancing your energy centers, which is the chakras, so really doing the shadow work in a way that helps you not just get into the shadow side of things and release a lot of the beliefs and issues that you may have regarding yourself and the world, but also balancing your chakras at the same time, take a look at my free masterclass. It's called How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers, and the link is in the description field below this video. So we are now in Samhain season if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and Beltane season if you're in the Southern Hemisphere at the time of me doing this video. So happy Sabbat wherever you are in the world, and whatever time of year you happen to be watching this video, happy Sabbat for the season. I've mentioned in previous videos about Sabbats that the Sabbat isn't just about the day or the 2 days of the Sabbat. It's actually a seasonal thing. So for the next 6 weeks until the next Sabbat, you're in that season. You're in the season of spring, or you're in the season of autumn, you're in the season of winter, summer, and the in-betweens with the greater Sabbats. So Samhain is like a season. It's a Samhain season for 6 weeks. It's a Beltane season for 6 weeks. So you can feel the energies, do the work in that 6-week period. And if you're somebody who likes to have a little bit of structure in your life so that you can do more with your life and work with the seasons, then you've got that time to be able to work through things. It's not like you've got to do it on that day. You can do it through right up until the next Sabbat. So I'm going to start with Samhain. Samhain is an incredibly popular Sabbat in the Northern Hemisphere. It's not so popular down here in the Southern Hemisphere from a commercial point of view or from a sort of mundane point of view. Yes, it's becoming more commercialized here, but still there's a lot of people who don't celebrate it. It's coming in more for the younger generations and with children, but not so much for people like myself who are a little older. So when Samhain is being celebrated worldwide as Halloween, which is its other name, All Hallows Eve, we're also celebrating Beltane actually here in the Southern Hemisphere, because the Sabbats work seasonally mostly, and seasonally we are well and truly into the summer season down here in Beltane. Samhain is traditionally about working with ancestors, connecting with the dead, those who've passed. The veil between the world becomes thinnest at Samhain and at Beltane. So it's not just Samhain, it's also Beltane as well. It's in the Scorpio season in the Northern Hemisphere. So it aligns very well with the astrology of Scorpio being pretty much ruled by Pluto as a modern ruler, and that death and transitional kind of energy. And because Scorpio is a water sign, it's very much about emotional transitions and emotional cleansing and that emotional transformation. So if you think of it that way, which means that the energy of Samhain is always about endings, mostly, in order to make way for new beginnings. The word possibly means summer's end. It's about going into the dark half of the year. It's the Celtic New Year. And the celebration is really quite important because transition is important. It's important for us to always be moving with our experiences and not getting stuck or staying the same. It's about growth of consciousness. What are we leaving behind in order to understand what we might be heading towards? When you're working with deities, you could be working with Ceridwen, the crone, Hecate, Cernunnos, you could be working with Hades, Pluto, or Osiris. So any of those deities that are about transformation or about change or magic are great to work with at this time. Something I wanted to talk about, which is to do with shadow work, but it's also to do with the mysticism around witchcraft and all of the mystical traditions, is this concept of die before you die. And you hear that spoken about a lot, particularly in the mystical traditions of Sufism, and I think in mystical Christianity as well. And the concept isn't that you physically die, it's about dying to the old self, or dying to what you've been in the past, that we're constantly being reborn. And when we're doing the shadow work, which is the perfect thing for the Samhain tide, is to be doing your shadow work or starting your shadow work, is understanding that as you go through and work on yourself and work on the things about yourself that you don't like, or that you feel that you need to change, or that just aren't working for you, it's actually working against you, you actually do go through a rebirth. It's like a bit of a reincarnation happening. And you do die to the old self, and a new self is reborn. And when you look back at your past life, or your life when you were younger, your childhood or your teenage years, or your 20s or your 30s, depending on how old you are, when you've done a lot of shadow work, you look back at those times and it does feel like you were a different person. It does feel like a past life. And that's what it means by die before you die. It's dying to the old self, the self that perhaps you weren't really happy being, or wasn't as functional as you wanted it to be, and becoming reborn into the new self. And you do that, of course, through your lifetime. And you may do that a few times in your lifetime. So meditating on that concept during Samhain is something that's very productive to do, because it is about the death and regeneration. So it's something to meditate on. Doing that shadow work. What aspects of yourself do you no longer want in order to be able to move forward? What things are stopping you from doing the things you want to do in your life that are within yourself? What fears are stopping you? Write down your fears. Write down every one of your fears and look at them, and start to work with asking yourself, well, how true is this? And where is this coming from within myself? And let's start to change that. I'll talk about at the end of this how you can go about changing that. But I want to go into Beltane now. So Beltane is the opposite end of the wheel with Samhain. So they kind of go together because they're opposites. And Beltane is all about fertility. It's the opposite thing. It's growth, fertility. It's about prosperity. It is about the beginnings or the growth of what you planted at springtime and moving with that growth. It was a time when they'd moved the cattle to greener pastures for the summer. And Beltane is named after Belenus, a Celtic deity, who's also, the translation of that is bright one. So it's all about the sun, the connection to the sun, the connection to summer coming, and things being really joyful and happy again, because there's no longer that dark part of the year. Think reproduction, think fertility, think growth. So what are you growing now? What are you fertilizing now? What are you wanting to be? Who are you wanting to be? Okay, and that would be the self you already know yourself to be. So it's not like you've got to become someone else. It's actually who you are. So often who you want to be is if it's not too caught up in the ego's need to somehow compensate for something you feel you lack, who you want to be deep down inside is actually who you are. So it's not like you've got to be that person. It's just you simply have to remove what's stopping you from being that person, because it's actually there. It's the mirror that you have to clean the dirt off in order to see yourself as you truly are. So whereas Samhain is about letting go of what things do I want to let go of that aren't helping me, with Beltane season, you're sort of doing the same work, but you're doing it with a different focus. You're looking at, well, what do I want? What do I actually want? What do I want to express as me? What vision do I have as me? When I see my witch self, what does my witch self look like? And I've done a video recently on the witch self. So asking yourself those questions, who do I really feel deep down inside I want to be, that I'm not quite game or have the confidence to express right now, that I'd really, really love to express? And write those things down. And then write down the beliefs that are actually stopping you from stepping into that person. Because when you step into that person, you're going to step into your power. And that's the most frightening thing anybody can ever do, is to step into their power. Because we're terrified of our power. We really are. And so the shadow work is to help us get out of that fear and move into who we truly are and not be afraid of ourselves anymore. If you're working with Beltane or with deities, obviously you're going to be working with Balinus. If you want to work with Balinus, he's a great deity to work with. I would certainly recommend it. Cernunnos, again, because of his connection to the earth and the fertility aspect, and also the prosperity aspect. So working for prosperity, working for growth, working for abundance, all of those things are bringing good stuff into your life that's going to help you in your life. Working with the goddesses like Danu or the May Queen, Breed. Breed comes up a lot. I think Breed, pretty much you could work with most Sabbats with Breed. She's a very popular deity, especially for those who are interested in working with the Celtic deities. The Maypole is a beautiful image in Beltane because it shows you how to work with the masculine and feminine energies, because the pole itself is the masculine and the ribbons are the feminine. And the masculine aspect of ourselves is that part of ourselves that is the initiating force. It's the active force. It's that part that motivates us to do something. It's the part that often will stand up for ourselves. It's the part that will protect us in opposition. It's the part of us that often has that goal focus. But it needs something to be able to penetrate. And so the feminine aspect of ourselves is the aspect of ourselves that takes that energy, that initiating energy, and does something with it, gives it form, essentially. So when you're inspired to do something and you're motivated to do something, that's the masculine energy, and you act on it, which is the masculine energy. And then as acting on it, you're giving it form, you're creating something, you're doing something with it. You might be doing a craft, you might be doing an artwork, you might be working on a career, you could be working on a family. You're taking that energy and you're giving it form and making something beautiful out of your life. So that's the way that the maypole works. You've got the pole standing there and the beautiful ribbons which are give form as they're wrapped around the pole, giving it a really, really pretty look and giving it more of a sense of form and brilliance and bringing something into formation. So Beltane energy can be about you meditating on the masculine and feminine energies within yourself and how they work within yourself and how you can recognize them when they are working within you. If you want to do your shadow work, do have a look at that free masterclass, How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers, because that will help you understand a little bit more about shadow work and how it affects you at each chakra. And if you want to really get stuck into doing serious shadow work on yourself and focus on that, then have a look at my Wheels of Empowerment course, which is the shadow work course. The link is in the description field below this video, and it will help you connect more with yourself. It will help you step into the real you more than you are now and give you that courage and confidence to step into the real you. So once again, the link is in the description field below this video. If you like the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from Mystery Witch School. I'll see you on the next video.